Welcome to Sliders and Wings, a podcast about the TV show Sliders
and the TV show Wings
and all the other forgotten TV shows of the 90s.
I'm Valerie Temple.
And I'm Rachel Cox. And this week we're here to talk about a wonderful show. Spoiler, it's really good.
Boston Common.
You need a dream. You've got to follow your bliss. Joseph Campbell said that. You better write that down.
For your information, Wyleen, I have a dream. I hope to one day be a modern dancer and live the dance.
Oh, Bo, look at that. Welcome to Massachusetts.
Guess what, sugar? You're going to college.
Color me shocked to find out that it only ran for one season.
Jeez, I think it was
32 episodes.
I think it was a mid-season replacement.
For one full calendar year, from March to April the next year.
Correct, because the first season only has like 9 episodes.
This is a national travesty. This is like way, way above January 6th, in my mind.
Oh, God. That's a strong endorsement.
That's true. Yeah, I'm on record.
I have to say that when I went in to watch this show, I put it on and then I realized that I was expecting a completely different show. Do you remember a show called Costello from the late 90s?
I don't want to admit I don't know a show, but I don't know the show.
It was blue collar Boston people, and it starred Sue Costello, who's a stand-up comedian, and she played a character named Sue Murphy. And when I think Boston sitcom from the 90s, that is what I was thinking of. This has Boston in the name, so I just kind of melded them both together. And so
you never watched this?
Nope.
I watched this religiously, and I remember just thinking it was just the funniest thing. And it still is. The other night we were watching TV and an ad came on for yet another movie set in Boston with Ben Affleck called The Tender Bar. And Greg's like, he just stood up, he goes, "That's it. No more Boston movies. I've decided. There's no more. We don't need any more."
I have thought that for a long time.
Because
Because
slave movies, no more World War II movies, and no more Boston movies.
please, it is over. Put it in the vault. There's nothing left to say.
It'll never be over as long as the Afflecks are alive.
I know, but especially if you've ever visited Boston.
It's such a nothing burger.
Exactly.
Nothing there.
It's a fucking Wahlburger, okay?
It's a nothing Wahlburger.
It's a nothing Wahlburger. Yeah, that town sucks. And I don't understand the appeal of it for movies and TV shows. There's that phrase, there's a million stories in the naked city or 1,000 stories in the naked city. And people think there are so many stories that are perfectly set in Boston. And this is this wonderful city. And that city is so boring.
It's so weird and boring. And when I was Googling Boston Common, there's a park called the Boston Common. So it's hard to search. But then some other video on YouTube came up that said, Boston, America's most European city. And I was like,
Oh, gross. Oh my God. I understand.
we're using the word European as a positive adjective. And I think we all are. No.
Ugh, no. Boston is filled with Dunkin' Donuts and yuppies who talk about wine and coffee and running as a sport and wear North Face jackets and are boring as fuck. My Mad Magazine spoof title for Boston is Blossom. Okay? Blah.
Boston Common is an American sitcom television series created by Who Cares and aired on NBC. The series was one of the 10 highest rated shows in its first season as it ranked 8th in the yearly ratings, blah, blah, blah. But with a move to Sundays in its second season, the show dropped from 8th to 52nd.
Wow.
Why did you move it to Sundays?
Wow.
Why? This makes me so mad.
I know.
It would have been a hit if it had been on Netflix or Hulu or something.
Bring the show back.
Now's the time.
It's funny that you said created by Who Cares, because actually, the creators of Boston Common did create a very remembered show from the 90s following this, Will and Grace. So these guys can make a TV show. They can make a sitcom.
Well, they can't keep it in the right slot. That's just what they learned from Boston Common.
Put it on Thursdays.
Okay, so there are just so many people in this show that I love. The main character is a comedian, Anthony Clark, who after this show actually went on to do 6 seasons of a show called Yes, Dear that was also pretty funny.
I remember that show.
It was funny. It was about 2 couples, and like one couple was very type A anal retentive, and the other one was like very loosey-goosey, and it was kind of a contrast of their parenting styles. And Anthony Clark was the more uptight guy. But anyway, so he plays a guy from Virginia, Boyd Pritchett, and then he goes to take his sister Wyleen to college in Boston, but then he decides to stay. So then they're kind of both living in Boston. It's a fish out of water type of situation.
It's a very bold choice to call a show Boston Common, and the 2 main characters are basically hicks from Virginia.
Yeah. I only watched the pilot, and then I watched half of the 2nd season pilot, which, by the way, had Margot Kidder in it.
And Zach Galifianakis ended up on this show. That's pretty good.
And then the woman who plays Wyleen, who we were just discussing off mic, was in the movie Foxfire in 1996, which was Angelina Jolie's first movie, one of her first movies. And she hasn't done much since then, but she's so good on the show. She's so funny. And Anthony Clark is so funny. And then the woman that plays Tasha, who also works with him.
Oh, I love her.
She was so funny. And then especially the guy who we talked about last week, who's the brother of the guy from Commish, David Paymer. Okay, sorry, that was David Paymer. This is his brother, Steve Paymer.
Are you on the Wikipedia page for Boston Common right now? Click on Steve Paymer.
He doesn't have a page.
It's underscored as if he should have his own page, and then it goes to a complete black hole.
The other notable people, Larry Miller comes up, Shelley Long comes up.
Ooh, Shelley Long.
Shelley Long comes in as a guest. Oh, she's a guest star. Okay, so I had the biggest crush on this guy. He plays Joy's boyfriend, Vincent Ventresca. He was on a sci-fi show called The Invisible Man that I loved. I would stay home every Friday night and watch, not that I was going to go anywhere anyway, but watch The Invisible Man. And then I also, of course, love Traylor Howard, who I guess right after this went to do Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place.
That Vincent Ventresca guy also, I think, is most well known for playing the character Fun Bobby on Friends.
Yes, the alcoholic boyfriend.
But I don't know if you noticed this. That wasn't actually Vincent Ventresca in the pilot.
Correct. I didn't see him until the 2nd season.
It was some other guy. Yeah. And
he also looked familiar, the other guy.
I looked him up because I watched 2.5 episodes. The first episode, Joy's boyfriend is played by this uptight, snooty professor type. He's got this big, full head of hair, and he's good. And then the second episode, I feel like they recast him midway through the episode. I was confused because you cut to another scene and it's Fun Bobby, but I feel like the beginning part of the episode, it was still the other guy. So I had to confirm what had happened. That actor, I was looking him up, and he was in the pilot episode of 3 different forgotten shows that year, but he didn't actually stay in the cast of any of them, which I thought was really weird.
Is he just a hey, is that guy?
He's on 63 episodes of Better Call Saul.
Oh, he plays a lawyer in The Office. Okay, that's familiar.
The 3 shows that he was in the pilots for in 1996 were Boston Common, Townies, and Mr. Rhodes.
I love Mr. Rhodes. What's funny is if you go to Vincent Ventresca's Wikipedia page, they only mention in the top summary, he was on The Invisible Man, Boston Common, and Fun Bobby. But his other notable role is, it's about to click for you, he was in Romy and Michelle's high school reunion.
Oh, yes!
The guy that they were both, the popular guy that became a sad sack. Billy Christensen.
Billy Christensen.
Vincent Ventresca is the youngest of 11 children.
Oh,
I didn't think about that.
That is really weird. I would assume by the end, it's almost as if you're an only child because your parents are just so done with dealing with kids at that point. It's so funny that Fun Bobby is so memorable. I feel like that was a character that was only on 2 episodes of Friends, but that's going to be on his gravestone. That's going to be in his obituary.
But wasn't there also another character on Friends that was called Dr. Bobby, but his name was Bobby?
I think so.
Which brings me to a question about Sex in the City that I've never had answered, which is Miranda's son named Brady?
I think so.
No.
I think he's actually named Brady Hobbs. Brady Hobbs Brady.
Brady B. But Anthony Clark is the star of Boston Common, and he was a stand-up comedian. So this is like a classic 90s show built for an existing comedian.
He is a guy that I feel like I saw him in everything before this show. He was always guest starring in things. He was on Ellen. He's just got a very memorable voice. There's something soothing about him.
He did a voice on the show, Dr. Katz, Professional Therapist.
Oh, hell yeah.
Remember that show?
Yes, I love Dr. Katz.
So I started watching the first episode of season 2 where Boyd inherits his great uncle's tuna fish sandwich recipe.
Okay.
So he and Tasha and Leonard make a bunch of tuna fish sandwiches to sell them and make money. Like that was the plot. I'm pretty sure that what's happening is that all the sandwiches go bad and they have to give everyone their money back. I think that's where they're going with it.
Okay. Make sure to check in with me when you're finished and let me know if that's what actually happened. The first episode, it just sets everything up. It opens up with Boyd and Wyleen, which shout out to those names. Boyd and
Wyleen is Wyleen.
Yeah, it is. Those names are a fish out of water in Boston.
Mhm.
They're on their way to Boston where Wyleen is starting college and Anthony Clark is just supposed to be driving her. Even though Boston is so filled with colleges and universities and schools, this is a completely made up place. It is called Randolph Harrington College. And he helps her get an apartment. And they're at the student union or whatever, where he runs into Trailer Howard, who intrigues him. And he immediately gets a job as a handyman at the student union. And because Trailer Howard, he wants to see more of her, he's like, I guess I'll just stay. That's the whole episode.
Leonard is just very funny. This character that comes in, he's kind of like a sad sack, monotone guy.
He works at
Well, yeah, that's like an academic joke. He works at the historical archive for historical footwear.
He apparently lives in the same apartment building as Wyleen, so maybe doesn't get paid that much at that archive.
The Joy character is a graduate student and she's doing research on Southern oral traditions. So that's why she wants to hang out with him and talk to him.
Folklore mythology is what she's getting her PhD in.
I mean, at least in the pilot, there's no regional jokes at all.
The most Boston thing that they said was her apartment building is on Commonwealth Avenue. And the address that they give, that's the BU campus. So I know exactly where that is. And that neighborhood is not really a neighborhood. So enjoy living there.
I feel like I need to convince our audience that the show is funny, but it's just very funny. The people are very good actors and the jokes are funny and it's very enjoyable and lighthearted.
I can't say that it was my favorite show that we've done. I feel like I laughed more at the 5 Mrs. Buchanan, but it was funny. It's a very standard sitcom, but it's well done. And everyone in the cast is very likable. There's a lot of little archetypes that are filled in very well. There's not really much to ding it on, really, except that it does seem really random that it's called Boston Common. Why call it Boston Common? If you're not going to do anything with Boston at all.
I'm guessing they just picked it because it's just a place that has lots of colleges. And then they could do the Southern, Northern. I was just shocked to find out that this woman that plays Wyleen is not really Southern. She's from Illinois.
Wow, good for her. What do you think is a better Trailer Howard vehicle? Boston Common or Two Guys and a Girl in a Pizza Place?
I mean, she got more seasons on Two Guys, a Girl, and a Pizza Place, but Two Guys and a Girl, she's more of a main character here. She's kind of the romantic interest.
I think she had more of a comedic character in Two Guys and a Girl. It was a more fully formed character, whereas in this show, she's just this object of affection. She just seems like, look how cute she is. Look at her cute hair clip. She's just cute, which she pulls off with a lawn. She is good at being cute.
So accent corner, 2 of them are Southern and the rest aren't.
Again, it is interesting that they did not have one character in the cast with a Boston accent. All right, so the show's name is Boston Common. So my Mad Magazine title is Boston, Come On.
That's what I was going to say.
This is the first time that's happened.
Yes. Well, unless I'm lying.
Boston, come on.
Come on.
Come on. I had a hard time coming up with it, and then it just came to me.
Well, you were sitting here while I came up with mine, remember?
I think that proves that that's the perfect answer. That is it. Done. Most 90s.
So in the episode, I was mentioning the second season pilot opener, and they're making the tuna sandwich. Boyd gets online and he's trying to secure the domain name tuna.com. He said, oh man, no one's gotten tuna.com yet. So far, it seems the World Wide Web is dominated by pork products.
All right, that is very funny. Tuna.com.
And then I realized I need to see what's at tuna.com. What do you think is at tuna.com?
Oh, I think it's gonna be porn. Tuna?
No, it goes to bumblebeetuna.com.
Okay, good. Phew. I just remember that time you were Googling something and you were just like in a dark part of the internet. I was like, ah. So my most 90s thing is from the pilot. Tasha Smith. I really loved her because I work at a university and she really felt like a university employee, someone who does not give a shit. When Boyd and Wyleen first come into the student union, they're trying to ask her questions and she's just reading a magazine, totally ignoring them. And they're like, can you hear us? What's going on? And then her alarm clock goes off and then she's like, can I help you? She was off the clock before and now she'll help you when you're on the clock. And I was like, that is very university employee. She's very sassy. She's a sarcastic character. And in the pilot, she sort of observes Anthony Clark going goo goo gaga over Trailer Howard. And she says, looks like love's found Forrest Gump.
Yes. She's so great on this show. And then you go to her Wikipedia and that's the main thing on here, that she was in Boston Common. I'm like,
she's been in a ton of stuff though. She was on For Better or Worse, which is a Tyler Perry show.
She was in Empire.
You'd recognize this person.
She's friends with Tisha Campbell Martin.
I'm jealous of that. I would like to be friends with Tisha Campbell.
And what you're watching, I don't remember what I'm watching.
Well, I'll go first and let you think. I've been watching the most recent season of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Sometimes it gets tiresome, like everyone yelling at Larry all the time.
It does. We kind of dipped out on the show because it is very formulaic. It's the same kind of thing over and over and over again. There's some sort of ridiculous thing that Larry's angry about. He gets himself into a situation. Everyone's yelling at him, blah, blah, blah. But it still is a really funny show. I think we've skipped a few seasons, but a friend of ours was telling us about this most recent season and she kind of sold us on it because Tracy Ullman is on an episode and she plays this completely regular looking lady, and the way that the cast makes fun of her and her appearance is just really funny. They're like, she's disgusting, she's the worst person in the world, and she just is so regular. It's hilarious.
Okay, maybe we'll watch that. Greg is really, really enjoying Southside. I'll hear him down here cackling to himself when I'm upstairs. I watched the latest Jim Gaffigan comedy special, which was great. I was crying laughing.
Oh, good. Yeah, I love him. He just makes me laugh so hard.
And it's so crazy that he's that funny and it's family friendly. Like I could play it in front of the 4-year-old. And
you would think that it would get repetitive after a while or get sort of boring, but you're constantly surprised by how much he can mine from so little. His writing partner is his wife, which I find really charming. Oh, I just like the idea of them bouncing things off of each other. Like, all right. That whole set about pancakes can stay, you know?
And then tonight, I think I'll be watching the final season of Search Party. Did you ever see Search Party?
No, and it has been on my list for years. That is something I have to devote time to. My first priority is finishing Pen 15. And then I'm going to start a new show.
One thing at a time. I was trying to finish a very, very goofy murder mystery. So I was skipping shows for a while because I was like, I got to finish this book. You know, when you just kind of, you're not into a book and it's just taking forever. And at this point, I feel like it's an accessory I've just been carrying around the house. Like, I've carried this to 10 different rooms today and have not read it. It's like a handbag or something.
A very stylish handbag that makes people think you're smart, though.
But it's a little murder mystery written about a specific place in New Hampshire where Greg and I got married, where his family vacations. On Lake Winnipesaukee, there's a ship called the Mount Washington, which is named after the mountain. And the book is called Mystery on the Mount. And a woman gets murdered. But it's just like this guy that only wrote one book. It was on our shelf. And I was like, I'm going to read this.
I love a regional author.
But the book is funny because the people that they don't even solve the mystery. They just kind of hang around and listen to the mystery unfold. But the two main characters are a married couple that move up there from Boston. They move up because they're just so tired of the crime and all the gross stuff in the city of Boston. It's from 1984.
Yeah.
They move up to New Hampshire to get away from all the hustle and bustle of the city life of running an advertising agency in Boston.
Oh my God. That's so
And this
funny.
couple like doesn't have any kids and they're, I don't know, they're probably in their 40s, but they're just so horny for each other. Not only that they can't keep their hands off each other, they can't stop telling each other how attractive they are and how much they want to have sex with each other. And I'm like, this guy
Ugh.
married. I don't know.
I don't know what I would think if I was at a party and all of my married friends were like horny for each other. Ew. Get out of here. Why'd you come to the party if you're so horny? I really hate not liking a book I'm reading because I am definitely not a person who can abandon ship. And so then I'm just miserable for however long it takes me to finish it. Usually I try to read it faster and that just makes me angrier. And then your sense of accomplishment at the end is also combined with this anger. Fuck this book. What a fucking waste of time.
It makes you wish you knew how to speed read. Then you could kind of like just zip through it maybe.
I remember my history teacher at my junior year of high school taught a lesson on speed reading to my class. We just ate up 3 class periods on speed reading.
He's like, you're going to need this, you guys.
We are talking about European history. There is a lot to know. So zip, zip, zip.
With fiction, I can just trudge through. But when I tried to pick up this book about early 20th century Britain, it was just so dense. I had to reread every sentence 3 times. It would have 4 different names in it. And this person did this, and then they did this, and then this year. And I was like, whoa. You really have to think sometimes with these really dense books.
Who wants to think when you're reading?
No, I want to experience it.
I want to be engrossed.
All right, this has been Sliders and Wings with Rachel and Val. And you can email us at slidersandwings@gmail.com and check out Sliders and Wings Pod on Instagram.
That's right. Check us out.
All right, good night.
Good night, Rachel.